Welcome to the Reticle Up podcast, where I, 3-Gun Kenzie, will be interviewing competitive shooters, hunters, fishermen, archers, entrepreneurs, and outdoorsmen. Come learn with me as I interview people from all walks of life, in different disciplines, all across the world, from novices to professionals of all ages. No matter what, everyone has something they can teach you, so come join me on the journey. Welcome back to the Reticle Up podcast, y'all. So we've got the other side of DoubleStar on today. We've got Robert Cabrera. He's the director of the Blade division at DoubleStar. Stabby on the Pew Pew and Stabby show, and then we'll talk about his other nickname.
That's yeah, the main one.
The main one, yeah. I'm excited to hear that story. So I got to know too, just starting off, did you ever imagine or plan that you'd end up like right now where you are running the Blade division at DoubleStar?
Not really, but I knew that because life, the turns and twists and things I knew that I wasn't going to be at the time that I made the decision to do what I was going to be doing, which was about 12 years ago, which started me on in the knife manufacturing field.
Yeah.
But as far as like running this, no, but I'll be honest with you, it's kind of a hat that I've worn before. Because I was in project management and doing other things like that in my other field. So, being in a leadership position, it's kind of an old shoe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Fair. So we'll get into DoubleStar a little bit later, but for starters, like tell me about your background. Did you grow up around like the knives and all of that stuff in your life?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing. I was raised on my mom's side of the family. They were really big in the outdoors, camping, hunting, fishing, trapping. So knives and guns were a part of life. It was pretty much like that till I was 19. Shoot and trap every weekend for the most part. That was a big thing for us during the summer, was shoot and trap. And then hunting and fishing, was from one season to the next. We were either turkey hunting during the summers growing up, hunting like woodchucks, and then small game in the late winter, and a big game during the late fall. So, I mean, knives were just a way of life. I mean, you were either using them to work on the farm, or, you're field dressing, or, filleting fish, or, and then when I was 12 years old, I got into martial arts and I started training pretty heavily, and then really got into knives back in those days, because I grew up on Kung Fu theater, 12 o'clock on Saturdays. So that was another part of knives was Kung Fu theater, and being involved with it on that end. So there was always this martial attraction to blades as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I'm not really one dimensional when it comes to that. I've got a lot of different interests when it comes to knives history. I'm really big into knife history. I'm a student of war. So, it's a lot of different things.
Yeah. Okay, let's break all of those things down. I feel like also, do you know anyone else growing up in America today that spends all their time outdoors and knows how to hunt and trap and do all those things anymore? Or is that gone?
That's funny that you asked that question. It's I mean, even in in my life, to find time to get out and hit the field, it's really, really, really rare. Like right now, my son and I are getting our bows set up to go out and try to do a little bow hunting this fall. I'll be honest with you, if we can peel off twice, I think it's going to be a lot.
Wow.
I think we just live in so much more of an active, I don't know, maybe we're loading up our own schedules too much. I wish that I knew more people who hunted and trapped and things like that, but it seems like everybody that I surround myself is almost as busy as I am.
Yeah.
So, I've got a couple of buddies of mine that keep me up to speed on, hey, I'm scouting this area out, and, wish you were here, especially a lot of my friends from back home where I grew up in upstate New York. They'll always send me messages. Hey man, look at what I got on the trail cam. And, it just teasing me, being able to get out in the field. But as far as knowing anybody, man, I know Nick hunts. My uncle is still an avid hunter, even though he, he's getting, shoulder injuries. He can't pull the bow back anymore. So he's up in New York. So they gave him a permit to hunt crossbow. So he crossbow hunts up there. Still big time shooter. He shoots a lot. As far as like trapping's almost non-existent anymore. I don't even know anybody who traps. So yeah, it's really rare. It's almost golly, it's really, I mean, even guys who fish, I fish, I've got cousins who fish, but still like the real, like growing up, everybody you knew did something, they were either goose hunters, duck hunters, turkey hunters, bow hunters, big game gun guys. You always met somebody that you could talk about doing something in field.
Yeah.
Or here's another thing, Nick and I talk about this all the time is we talk about this concept that I was going to write a book. And it was called Things I Learned in Deer Camp. And it's this idea of what deer camp was, I don't know, 30 years ago, and the kind of the rite of passage of deer camp. I mean, I learned how to sharpen a knife at deer camp, with my grandfather. I learned how to fillet fish and break down game. And then I learned about the pecking order of, believe this or not, the alpha layout. Okay. I learned that as a child, from being around all these men. And you learned what the pecking order was in that atmosphere. You had the older guys who basically took the younger kids and taught them how to split wood and cord and build fires and cook and, help break down game. And then there were the next younger guys down. They were the ones who were hitting the field a lot. And I don't know, just this idea back then, it just seemed like you knew more people who were really getting involved with being outdoors,
Yeah, I feel like that's crazy, and it's a little bit scary to me, because I grew up duck hunting and deer hunting and all of that. And I was gonna say what I learned at deer camp: how to stack cards into a fort.
Oh, we did. That was on a rainy day. I mean, I think I remember us either that or playing solitaire on a rainy day. That was about it.
Yeah. And then what clothing to wear while duck hunting? I didn't realize you're pretty much in the water, but yeah, it was fun.
Oh God, duck hunting. I've went twice in my life, and there's a reason for that. Because there's a reason why ducks are called fowl, because that's the weather when you're hunting them. Yeah. I mean, we would hunt in New York. It's really big to hunt riverways, and the one duck that would come down the pipe, you could hear him coming way down because everybody that was on the river was shooting at him. So by the time he got to you, he was really moving. So don't even waste your shells, man, because this guy is not stopping. And it was always miserable, cold and rainy, and oh no. And I really never liked eating duck. So yeah, I don't know if it was because of the way it was cooked or whatever. Yeah. But I wasn't into it. I'd always hang out for the field dressing. I always loved to help field dress and whatever. So I'd hang out in field dress and we'd talk or whatever, But
field dressing for you though, was that the dipping in the hot wax at all, or plucking, or what did they do?
Back in those days, we were plucking, and then we were it was kind of a combination of plucking and then the doing really like quartering. Like you'd get them plucked and kind of skinned at the same time. You'd clear them out really good, and then the guy that we hunted with, he liked to quarter them. Okay. He'd like to split them right down the breast, and then he'd quarter them right under the wings. And that was a real, because he loved to deep fry everything, so everything was deep fried. And then we'd do the geese the same way. Like we'd go hunting with this guy, and he'd do geese exactly the same way. Oh, so yeah, everything was fried.
Yeah. Oh, so we did the hot wax thing. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, because the fur or the feathers stay there forever. But
yeah.
So gross.
Yeah. I didn't. That's why I helped, because they were nice enough to let me hunt. So I'd always be there and help. As a matter of fact, one time I got in trouble. I'd rather not say the story, but let's just say that we were geese hunting, and I didn't know that you couldn't shoot grounded birds. And so I was bored, so I left the blind, and I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm bolting. So I didn't know you couldn't shoot. Well, back in those days too, they had the plugs in the shotguns that you could pull them out.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So you had to keep your plug in, right? So I'm leaving. I'm on my way out. So I'm breaking my shotgun down. I'm pulling the plug out, putting it in my pocket, close it, which is still illegal. Yeah. And I'm putting my gun back together, and I hear geese. And let's just say I jumped like a bunch of them. I snuck up on them like they were whitetails. And let's just say I showed back at the blind with like 5 of them in 3 shots. And then the dudes were losing their minds because you could go to jail. I didn't know, So they were like, then all of a sudden everybody had to get their tags out to take the 5 geese that I shot with 3 shots. So anyways, that was the end of my goose hunting career.
Yeah, that'll do it. That actually brings up a good point though. the learning curve to get into hunting is massive. It's huge. Like you would have to go look up all the legal rules and get your permit and what classes you have to take. And I feel like that's an overwhelming part of today's society is trying to figure out, how do I even do that? Public land, how do I know where it stops, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hunter safety. I mean, I don't even know. I know they do it here in Kentucky and in New York. It is. Yeah. In New York, it's mandatory. You can't bow hunt and you can't gun hunt without a hunter safety course, period, full stop. So that's one thing that my son and I were talking about. That may be the very thing that may keep him out of the tree stand this year, is because he hasn't had a chance to do a hunter safety course this year. And I don't think they do them this late. But so I don't even know what states, like Tennessee. I don't think they do it.
I don't know about Tennessee. I got it in Florida.
Yeah.
And then Alabama asked for your license from Florida, like that you have the class. Yeah. Like that. Then again, like we said, as soon as you move over different boundaries, what are the rules?
Yeah. I moved over. I lived in Tennessee for 18 years combined, the two times. And I don't ever remember anybody mentioning anything about a hunter safety course ever.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother conversation you can get into. People get so weird about that, but I think it's a good thing. I mean, they taught you how to follow a blood trail.
Yeah. Maybe how to not shoot at ground birds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I must have forgot all about that part because I completely failed that mess. Like I said, that was the end of my goose hunting escapades. But I pretty much stuck to whitetails and turkeys after that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, in your grocery shopping, it doesn't sound like you went out and bought, beef very often. You guys literally supplied year-round food.
Yeah, we still bought, but there was, there always seemed to be venison in the freezer, always, and we'd usually go through it between 4 to 5 months. It was gone.
That's fast.
Okay. Yeah, we'd go through. I mean, especially me, especially when I got into my teens, when I was trying to crush as much protein as possible. I'm serious. I'd come through the house and I'd be unthawing meat and into the, yeah. If there was any, especially backstrap or anything like that, it was history.
Yeah. I hated that when my little brother would get something before I would, but yeah. I'm like, yeah, that was mine.
Yeah, backstrap and I'd cut steaks out of neck roasts usually.
Oh,
that was one of my favorite. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So getting into some of the bow hunting stuff too, and bow fishing, those are really activities that I see like diehards are really into, right? And people, people into it, but it's also kind of not as popular, right?
Well, it's funny because I bow hunted pretty exclusively till 2001. And I hunted throughout New York State. Then I, moved to Florida, hunted a little bit down there. As a matter of fact, I hunted in the Tampa region back in the 90s, and then moved to Tennessee, and then I bow hunted Tennessee for a while. I had a really good stomping ground. I was on a piece of property on this mountain called Mont Eagle, and I hunted there and did really well. And then in 2001, right after 9/11, I got a gig working for the Army Corps of Engineers, and then moved down to the Caribbean, which pretty much put the kibosh on hunting. And then I was down there for 4 years running an office. But after that, up until that point in time, toward the very end of at that particular stint, I started getting into traditional shooting.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now that bow fishing is a huge way to get into traditional shooting. In other way, instinctive shooting.
Yeah.
Bow fishing is probably the best way to keep that knife sharp. It's absolutely fantastic. And then the biggest thing is there's a lot of things you can do with a lot of the rough fish. If you have compost piles and things like that, if you're not the type of person you want to be eating carp and gar and all that. Now, although gar actually, if you can skin it, is actually pretty good. But yeah, bow fishing is great for instinctive shooting. And I started getting into that, got really big into instinctive shooting toward the very end. And then after I sold my stuff, when I went to the Caribbean, then I moved back home for a little while, and I lived back in New York for like 2 or 3 years. As I was up there, I got right back into bow hunting again up there. And to be quite honest with you, I've been on an archery hiatus for probably a couple of years. My son and I tried to get back into it. We bought our stuff, but somebody got into the garage at night using In other words, they stole our stuff 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, we're just getting kitted back up again now. Yeah, my uncle was cool enough because he hurt his shoulder. He gave me his Matthews switchback. So I'll be shooting that. And to me, I'm just happy to get back to the range and shooting again.
Right. It's actually really fun. Like really, really fun. It's something you don't think about. An hour goes by and you're having to use every single piece and part of your brain, your body, that you're actually not thinking about anything else. You can't.
Yeah.
It's
really you got to keep everything out.
Yeah.
You got to keep everything out there at that point in time. When you draw that thing back and you anchor, there's no work, there's no bills, there's no, the car's broke down. There's none of that. All there is that knock point, that kisser button, that ring, that line across your nose. That's it. And just push it out. That's all there is, you know, and it's meditative. To me, it's very similar to martial arts for me. It's very meditative and it falls right into that same category.
Yeah, I think it's like my mental health release, really. It's like an hour and turn on music, if that, and just hang out. My question on, I know nothing about bow fishing. I've seen it. Is bow hunting and bow fishing different with, like, there's no release in fishing? Is that right?
Yeah, I never shot. I know some guys who shoot releases for bow fishing. I never preferred to. I always shot purely instinctive for that, just because you don't have an awful lot of time. Yeah. Usually you only get a glance and you need to take advantage of that immediately. Okay. That's why it works so good for instinctive shooting. Is I don't know if there's several methods for instinctive shooting. One of the methods that I used to use was called what they call the punch method, which is basically as you draw out, you punch towards the target. Mm-hmm. And that's the method that I used to use for bow fishing, which actually kind of translated over to when I started working on instinctive shooting. Cool.
Okay. All right. And then, like, I'm interested actually to know how you got set up for bows. I know I've gone through that process, but like, you're able to fit your dad's bow, and that's not always the case, right?
My uncle and I happen to be exactly the same draw length within a little over 1/16 of an inch.
Wow. Yeah. So explain that for new people listening that don't really know or understand that, why you need to have a bow that fits you.
Yeah. So they spanned me. So that when they spanned me, let's say they measure from point to point, and they do some math and they get it to where they split you. My uncle and I are literally the same, and it's so important to be fit properly. For me, it's especially with tech, the high tech stuff, you really want to be fit and you want to be lined up real well. Some of the older bows, the more archaic stuff, there's a little bit more room for error in there. But with these bows now that they're moving so hot, I mean, you're 350 or 300 feet per second plus anymore. So you really want to make sure you're locked down and make sure you're fit correctly. Because if not, you're just not going to be as efficient. Your arrow flight's not going to be as good. You're not going to be able to reach out in the way you really should be able to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for people like wanting to learn, what resources do they go to? What websites, or like, how would they learn how to bow fish?
Oh my God, YouTube's full of guys now. I mean, literally, it is inundated. And I mean, you could go like my local archery shop, the place that I just went to. I found a place that I'm real comfortable with now, and it's great. I walk in there and you get, typical 2 or 3 guys that are locals. You're hearing the what and the how, what's going on. And hey, did you see so-and-so on YouTube? YouTube has turned into this amazing thing when it comes to just resource wise. Because I mean, like, a lot of guys shoot compounds for bow fishing. I was always a big fan of a recurve. I shot recurve for bow fishing, didn't shoot a compound.
So cool.
Yeah, I like simple. When for bow fishing particularly, I like simple, real simple.
Yeah. I learned on a recurve from professionals that like have won world shoots, but then now I went to Ops Archery Supply. It's actually in Kentucky, so it's not far from you guys, but I got fitted up there. And he was like, try the recurve over the targets into the concrete.
Recurves have such a funny energy to them. And there's no let off. Nope. There's none of that.
So fast, you cannot hold it.
Yeah. And if you're drawing back a 70-pound recurve, that's 70 pounds of real weight. And if you're not used to it, if you don't have the proper muscles lined out, especially if your form is bad, you're going to feel it immediately. You maybe get 1 or 2 shots and you're going to be really feeling it.
I was so embarrassed. I was like, I'll pay for that arrow.
Yeah. And it ain't cheap either. I think that's the most expensive part about archery, to be honest with you. People think bullets are expensive. Yeah. Crap, dude. Carbon arrows, you fit a carbon arrow out, you put a nice set of shielded cut veins on it, and you got your whatever up there in the front, whatever, whether you're shooting automatics or fixed blade, whatever, bro, you got some grip in an arrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me cry the thought of losing arrows, man.
I know. I shoot at my house, which the basement is all concrete, so I'm shooting at concrete. But I know if I had it skid on the ground before and hit the target, I'm like, I'm gonna hit concrete soon.
Yeah, and then once you hit, well, I mean, you hit concrete, it pretty much smokes some things, man.
Yeah, you're done. That's thrown in the trash.
Yeah, just throw it away, and then you're like, there goes $10.
Yeah,
that blows.
Oh man. Okay, I had another question too that came to mind. I actually don't know. Do you shoot broadheads with fishing? That sounds stupid, right? Like what?
Yeah, it's a tough. I've always been a real fan of the Muzzy Trocar style tip for bow fishing. Yeah, I like those. But any of the real wire tipped ones are really good. You know, bow fishing. I think blows such a hole through them. I'll be quite honest with you. If you're a bleeding heart, bow fishing is going to break your heart. I mean, because it absolutely smokes them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, if you're not used to guts, and yeah, it's going to be a mess. I'm serious. It blows a hole through these. I feel sorry for them a lot of times.
I can see that. I haven't done it. I want to do it. Every time I look up, by the way, bow fishing on Instagram, you know what I get, right? Can you guess?
No, tell me.
Just a bunch of bikini and tits out and like.
Yeah. There's a lot of that now. That's become a real popular thing. I mean, anything to get the likes, pretty much. You know, but there are a couple serious guys. I got a buddy of mine down in Chattanooga. His name is Josh. He's hardcore. He bow fishes at night down there on the Tennessee River.
What?
And yeah, he's got the boat with the deck built. Yeah, he I could definitely get you tied up with him because he's all over that mess.
Oh yeah. I would love that.
He's shooting buffalo carp. He's shooting, oh my God, he's shooting regular yellow carp. I mean, they're shooting gar, gator gar. Cool. They're all over it, man. And those guys are about it. He's the one who got me turned on to actually eating gar. Even with me being Jewish, it's legit. We can eat it. So he had me made these nuggets out of them. They're actually pretty good. So you can eat some of the fish that you pull out of there.
Oh yeah. My mom's from Louisiana. Pretty much you can fry anything.
Yep.
So we learned the recipes. So one last question on that too. You said boat. So I immediately thought, do you have to have a boat for boat?
No.
Okay.
No, some of the most fun is wading. So wading is a blast. If you get the right areas where it's nice and shallow, you get around knee deep, watching those big yellow carp swirl and boil out in front of you, and you're stalking them. You're literally line of sight stalking them. I mean, you can sneak up on them. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It is, especially if you start getting into really big yellow carp where we're talking like 25 to 30 pounds plus. I mean, these things are just, and in the water, they look even bigger, but sneaking up on them, you get a nice hit. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Neat. And there's a specific season, or is that year round?
Most of the case is year round because they're rough fish. They're usually invasive species for the most part. So you could, like, I got a buddy of mine down in Florida that he bow fishes for snakehead a lot. Yeah, it's this invasive species down in Florida. It's called snakehead. It's an Asian fish, and they get pretty good size, and they've got a lot of teeth, and that's his big thing. He bow fishes for snakehead.
That's really cool. So okay, you pull back, you let go, broadhead hits the fish. Are you attached somewhere? You like catch the line? Okay.
Yeah, I don't use reels. A lot of guys like to use reels, like the big giant Zipcos and all that. I've had bad experience with those in the past, where you forget to push the button, and then bang, there goes a $15 fiberglass arrow, just hit the bottom. So that's why I like simple. I just get the old fashioned like can method where you got to wrap it around. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple.
That's a pro tip, y'all. Like,
I'm telling you, when you lose 4 or 5 of those arrows, them jokers are not cheap. You learn real quick that simple is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's cute. You know, you're fighting the fish on the fishing pole, but you know, that $15 arrow, man, that just takes the wind right out of your sail, especially when it's like your last one and you forget to push the button, or you're in a stalk, you're trying to get up on them, you forget to push the button, bang, you fire, there goes your arrow, and you're done for the day. So ask me how I know.
I was gonna say, how has that happened?
Yeah. So yeah, that's funny because I'm talking about this and I want to get my son involved because it's just especially stalking them. It's a blast.
Yeah. I mean, that's any hunt. I think it's more fun than just sitting around.
Yeah. Still hunting is, but the funny thing is like, that's kind of the way I hunted growing up, was still hunting, but we had a lot of property to hunt.
Yeah.
So you could take a rainy day like today I grew up around a lot of apple orchards and stuff like that. So a rainy day like today was great because even, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you could break out and hit the orchards, and spend way before dusk out walking. I harvested several deer just 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just, still hunting around apple orchards. We just sneaking up, looking aisle down aisle.
Heck yeah, you don't see deer move that often that time frame.
No, but now I don't know. It just seems like unless you got a decent size lease, or you're in an area that's, even though it's public, it's not heavily trafficked. It's really hard to get away with still hunting anymore. You just can't cover as much ground as you should be able to on a really good still hunt.
Yeah, you probably run into more people.
That's exactly what happens. You run into more people.
America needs to thin down. I think Thanos had an idea. Good idea.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that. Don't even get me started on that because too many people.
Okay. Moving on. So, and then wrapping up the hunting aspect, like, again, it goes back to like the hardest part, I think, is starting it or getting into it, or like, how can we as hunters do better to pass that on?
I don't think, I come from a mindset where the best activities that you can do, or the best teaching that you can do, start at home. I look at from a context of delivering a message of any type. If I can't express to the people that I love the most about something, how am I going to be able to tell something else about to somebody else about it? I think you being able to pass that on to family, to blood, to kin, I think is probably the most important thing, whether it's your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, grandson, granddaughter. I think that's probably the first step. Is we look so often to try to go out to teach people things, where if we can't even teach our own family members of any type, second or third range out, however you want to put it, that's probably the best way to do it, is get the people that you love the most, let them see how much you enjoy it, and get them involved. Like, I've got family members now down in Florida who've never hunted before, and they're like, Rob, how do we get involved doing this? It's just funny because as me getting older, when I was younger, a lot of the family members really weren't into it. I was one of the only ones. And now that I'm kind of getting older and I'm getting to a point where it kind of feels like I'm on the backside of doing all that, now they're coming out of the woodwork and like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? I want to learn how to do this. How do you do that? So I'm kind of having to, I'm trying to edge back into getting more into hunting and shooting and doing all those things again. My son he's wanting to get into it a little bit. And I got brothers-in-law and people like that want to start learning how to do it. I'm like, all right, well, let's see if we can do something. But it's weird though, because the time element, it's not the same. Again, if you, like in my case, I grew up in close proximity to the same land that I hunted. So I mean, literally you could walk out the back door and you were hunting, boom, you're there. Now it's not the same. It's this, now you gotta, we gotta find a place to hunt. We gotta make arrangements, and then you gotta, so it's not as, it's not as,
it's expensive. It's way more expensive than it used to be.
Well, look at bows. Bow archery was one of the most least expensive things you could do at one time. I can remember a time when you could get geared up for right at around $300. Yeah. You could get geared up, ready to go, license in hand, and go start bow hunting. Now,
I paid $1,100 for my bow.
Yeah. And well, I tell you a funny story is I was going to break down. And so I said, let me go traditional.
Okay.
I'm going to go traditional. So I called my uncle up. I said, I'm going traditional. Like if you were to say, Rob, what is your Excalibur of bows, right? Well, my Excalibur of bows is a Black Widow recurve. That's, for me, that's the whole holy grail. Is the Black Widow pretty much. And I went to go get one, and it was like $1,500 just for the bow. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? Now, here's the deal though. I mean, you could go to, if you're smart and you know what to buy. I mean, the very first set of bows that my son and I bought, we bought matching loaded. In other words, they already had sights. They already had everything set up. We bought them for 200. I think they were $299 for a piece. They were set up. So all we had to buy was releases and arrows. That's it. So for both of us, I kitted both of us up for like $750.
That's not fair.
So yeah, and it was a good bow. I mean, it was shooting about 285 feet per second.
Yeah.
And it was brand new, and it shot pretty well for what it was. I was perfectly comfortable shooting with it. Even though, because I mean, I was broke in on, the Bear Whitetail, the Kodiak. So for me, shooting below 300 feet per second is not a problem. I can definitely compensate for that. But if you're just, you want to go catapult theory, where you're just going to fill the catapult with money and just start throwing it, bro, you could, my God, it's crazy. Like I looked at my bow, the one my uncle gave me, what it would cost for me to outfit that now. Yeah. And I was just like, no.
What'd you come up with? What number?
It was close to $1,500.
Yeah.
To do it the way I wanted to. But I was like $1,500 for a Black Widow. I'm like, okay, that's like the guy who shoots a Weatherby. Really, it's that guy. I shoot a Weatherby. Okay, well, I'm shooting a $400 Ruger, and I'm gonna kill that deer just as dead as you. So I don't know. It's if you look hard enough, you can find places where you can get a really good deal on archery stuff. So guys, when you go out there and you start looking, don't fret, and listen. Don't be afraid to go find a deal on a bow somewhere like Cabela's or someplace like that, and take it to your local archery shop and have them help you get fitted. Okay. Because not everybody because if you look at it as money, then you'll never get a chance to get outfield.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Don't say to yourself, well, I've got to spend $1,500 to get into the field and start hunting. No, you can do it for less than that. There's no reason for worst case scenario, go to a pawn shop with somebody who knows what they're doing. I'm serious. If you want, for me, the most important thing isn't that you're shooting a high dollar bow, is that you're getting in field.
Yeah. Or estate sales. I found really good stuff on estate.
Yes. So don't let the price tag scare you guys off. The most important thing is get out there and start hunting. Get a local shop. A lot of times, even if you tell your local shop, a lot of your local shops let you do layaways. And a lot of those guys, if they know what they're doing and they know you're trying to get out there, they'll do everything they can to help you.
Oh yeah. We all want to duplicate the numbers.
Yes.
That we do. I think that's huge. Yeah. And at the end of the day too, if we go back to like, for me, for archery, it's not just hunting. I might go compete. Now it's my mental health. It's my practice every day. This arm's really strong now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than just, you're not going to go shoot it once a year. Like you should be putting in work daily leading up to hunting. So there's that too.
And the worst comes to worst. I've contemplated getting back into indoor. I shot indoor for a little while. I've thought about getting back into shooting indoor, shooting dots, Vegas style. Just because I used to enjoy it. I may start doing it again, get inside, do a little bit of shooting.
Do it. Ops Archery has that league too. I wish that we had one here near in Tennessee. But that's the other thing, is Facebook groups I found are really helpful with selling stuff and getting you to go to matches. So I just need to go watch one.
And there's a lot of great organizations now too. National Field Archery Association, National Indoor. If you get in there and check them out, there's a lot of archery associations that will help, especially they got a lot of youth programs.
Oh yeah.
For getting kids involved. And I've noticed here in Kentucky, there's quite a few archery. They got a lot of archery tournaments that they have here, specifically for like high school kids. They do a lot of that. But yeah, for me, that's the biggest thing. Don't let the price tag, we talked about this one time when we were having a conversation with Nick about 3-gun, 3-gun is, I like it. It's a great sport.
It's an investment
but for the
in your whole life.
Yeah. But for the blue collar guy, it's very difficult to even consider getting into it. Okay. I couldn't do it. Like my son, well, they caught a lot of flack from it, but the pistol caliber carbine.
Yep.
Okay. I found that extremely intriguing because at the time 9 was very affordable.
Yes.
And I was going to get my son into shooting, and I said, okay, well, I could probably get him a 9mm carbine built for 6 to 7, 6 to 8 at the time. Get him lined out with a halfway decent pistol, 9mm pistol, and he's good. He's good. At that time, we were shooting 9mm like they were Cheerios. So I said, okay, this is reasonable. I can do this. And then you get a lot of guys that hammer down on pistol caliber carbine. But here's the deal, though.
Sure.
Do you still work out perishable skill? Yes, you do. Do you still work out getting on target? Yes, you do. Do you still get out of the house, in field, and shoot? Yes, you do. So,
yeah,
you
get people outside, get them outside, like go outside, people.
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, again, I wish 3-gun could go mainstream like that, but I've looked at it and I like the fact that people are out there, getting rid of they're working on perishable skills, but to look at it and say, wow, man, I wish so-and-so who I know loves to shoot, but I know they're not going to be able to afford to do this. And then I'll turn them on. Now there's another, what's the 2-gun one?
Well, USPSA did 2-gun. There's
okay, that must be the one I'm thinking. USPSA. I heard you and Nick talk about it.
Yes, so they did 2-gun nationals this year. I think they're going to bring it back next year. And then the newer company, Cobalt Kinetics, they're doing 2 matches a year in Utah. I think I probably got that wrong. And so there's another one in December. So you just have to fly out there. But those are some really cool matches. They're not sanctioned by a governing body, but outlaw 2-gun. Have fun.
Yeah, just go shoot. Just work on those reps, man. Clearing leather and sending ordnance down range, man. That's it.
Yep.
That should be the way I understood it, that was the whole point.
Yeah, and USPSA made a rule change where you can actually draw from concealment now, like with appendix and everything, and IDPA still does not allow you to. So the Defensive Pistol Organization is not going to let you practice defensive pistol. The USPSA
okay, so they don't let you practice clearing the garment, which is one of the most important things about self-defense.
Correct. IDPA will let you have the vest, and so you have to get the gun out, but you're pretty much going to have a belt, through your belt loops and an outside the waistband holster. USPSA, though, you can have your appendix carry, under your clothes and draw, and that's what's really cool, and that's what I think grew the sport a lot. You can have your flashlights on it, and I know my people, they carry a Glock with a flashlight attached, and that's their holster setup too with appendix. So that's where they can practice.
Yeah, and it's like for me as a teacher, as an instructor, like we teach clearing the garment with knife stuff, all that, we go through all that jazz. And to see somebody, like, again, if you're shooting like that and call yourself a gun person and you're putting reps in like that all the time, I'm like, okay, that's valid.
Yeah,
because you're working on a skill set that could very much save your life, period.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we beat it a little bit at the horse to death. I said that wrong for the bow hunting stuff, but I think that's really cool. You and I both love the outdoors. The thing I wanted to get into is talking about martial arts too. I know pretty much across the board, a lot of people, that have been abused or have been, attacked and all of that. Why is it so important to take some sort of defensive classes and learn how to defend yourself without firearms?
Wow. So the rabbit hole for me is this whole idea of self-awareness, and understanding that the world is we're not living in a world as we want it.
Yeah.
Right? We're living in a world as it is. We have to take it as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the bottom line is because of my background, the idea of the criminal element. I'm not the guy that came out of the military. I'm not the guy who was in law enforcement. Actually, for a good length of time, I was doing stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing. And when I became an adult and started having kids and a home and a family, and I wanted to start giving back, it's this mindset and this understanding that, hey, while you're home, so all of us, 9 to 5, we get home. A lot of times, all we want to do is just unload. We don't want to get involved. We want to put our feet up. Our feet hurt from doing whatever all day, or we've been behind a computer all day.
Yeah.
We just want to whatever. Some of us don't, or some of us have young children or have had young children. They know what it's like to have to come home. Yeah. And have to do that. Who's got time for that? Well, but here's the problem with that is the criminal element in this day and age, they're actually more equipped, more prepared, and they're in better shape than they ever were 20 years ago. And the reason why I know that is fortunately enough, I still spend a lot of time talking to law enforcement friends of mine, either in Chattanooga, North Georgia, Atlanta, wherever, Knoxville, Nashville, name it. I'm talking to friends in Memphis, and they're telling me the same thing over and over again. The thuggery that's out there now, these guys are in great shape. A lot of them. They're bigger, stronger, faster, meaner. And while you're home trying to deal with life, they're getting their swole on, and they're rolling with their buddies, and they're working. Yeah. They're working out. They're getting strong. They're rolling, they're doing this. And with YouTube, I'm not going to knock on YouTube, but when YouTube being there, the availability to knowledge is endless. So they can learn about whatever they want.
Yep.
So ask any law enforcement officer that's seasoned, and they'll tell you the same thing, that the level of criminality has definitely gone up. And the bottom line is law enforcement, they're fewer, they're getting treated worse.
Yep.
And that means that there's less people out there to stand on the wall. Yep. And yes, buying a gun is great, but your ability to make war on the person who comes through the threshold of your door, that's a game changer. Yeah. Because one thing that gun can't give you is intent. Mm-hmm. It will not and cannot give you intent. That is you rehearsing the possibilities and the probabilities of things that could happen to you and your family in your head, and working out and being okay with that.
Yeah.
In the long run. And all martial arts does is it constantly, if you're training with the right people, it's putting you under that physical stress. Because if you've got the right group of guys that you're working out with, you're sparring with them. You're for lack of a better word, you're getting your ass kicked by your friends on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So that is stressing you in a good way. That's preparing you in a good way for that. To me, I think that's probably the more valuable part about martial arts. It isn't necessarily, hey, I'm going to go to this school and then they're going to give me a black belt and everything's going to be great. No, it's not that. It's going to a school, whether it's an MMA gym, whether it's a good FMA school, whether it's a good Krav school, whatever. And you go there and you get your butt handed to you on a regular basis, because that's the most important thing, because you're training with guys and tribe that should love you and care about you.
Yeah.
In the sense that they want to make sure you're getting the right training, and they give a crap about Cabrera. We're doing boxing drills. You keep dropping your hands and I keep getting hit in the face. Why am I getting hit in the face? Well, because my bro isn't going to let me keep my hands down, and he's going to keep hitting me in the face until I get my hands up. Well, he cares. That's an odd way to say it, but he cares. Why? Because God forbid, if I ever have to do anything, I better be able to dish it out.
Yeah. It's muscle memory at that point. And the other thing that I see a lot too is people playing in circles where they are the person dealing out all of those, whatever you want to call it. So you're not growing if you're not having the people that can advance you, that can humble you, and that can, that's important too, is what circles are you in,
Yeah. Yeah. And do you cross train? A lot of great things. Like I cross train. So my primary background is Wing Chun. And then a very close second to that is Filipino martial arts. Which encompasses weapons, boxing, groundwork, everything. And then I cross-train BJJ and judo. And I've actually done some Maki jiu-jitsu in the past as well. And I'm cross-training also catch wrestling right now as well. So I'm doing everything I can when I can to try to cross-train. And I'm 48 years old. For me, it's about learning how to finish it as fast as humanly possible. I don't care if I got to take an elbow out of socket, I got to blow out a shoulder. What that means is that I'm avoiding conflict.
Yeah.
The loudmouth, at the barbecue, I really don't care about that. I'm going to walk away. The person who's got road rage. Okay, I'm driving away. I got no problem with that. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not looking for a fight. I want to avoid a fight because I'm not 30 anymore. I'm not going to sit there and go rounds and rounds. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in doing that. I don't have the physical ability to do it anymore. I just want to hurt you.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. I'm all interested just so I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of also being physically fit, we overlook that as well. Don't neglect getting them reps in, man. Don't neglect your kettlebell. That's why I've got my shop set up the way it is, because I'm there most of the time. It's easy for me to get my reps in. Don't be afraid of your sandbag. Get your kettlebell, work your ground routines, do everything, and try to get at least try to get your 30 to 45 minutes a day in. If I don't care whether you're doing calisthenics, stretching, whatever, try to get that minimum of at least 30 minutes of a good workout. And if you can cap that off with some cardio of any kind, you're doing yourself a huge favor.
Yeah. So when you're talking about all the different kinds of all of the things that I can't even repeat, can you tell us like how someone could find like the martial art or the defensive training that works for them starting out? Like, I don't know any of those.
Well, right now a great start is golly, there's so many good ones. It depends on your personality. So you basically get broken into two camps. You're either a striker or a grappler.
Okay.
That's it. So when it comes to striking, you got boxing, you got Muay Thai, you've got a number of different types of striking arts. Aki Jiu-Jitsu is a combination striking art. Filipino martial arts contains a lot of that. And then on your grappling side, you got the BJJ guys, you got catch wrestling, you got Shutu, you got judo. Judo, I've been taking judo for about 1.5 years now, and it's fantastic. It's a great art. But you need to figure out who you are. And what I like to tell people is that, okay, if you've been known to be a striker, then you need to cross train. If you've noticed that you find yourself leaning towards being a striker and always have been, then you need to push yourself. You need to get your ground game up.
Like it.
Because there's these people nowadays, oh, well, I'll never end up on the ground. Yeah, that's not going to play. I mean, because I've spent time around moderate jiu-jitsu guys. And I say moderate extremely liberally. And a moderate jiu-jitsu guy will take the average person down in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I mean, as fast as you can blink your eyes, you're on your back.
Yeah.
So I tell guys, okay, if you're used to being a striker, maybe you should go try to find yourself. I mean, and I don't care. Machado, Gracie, 10th Planet, I don't care. As far as BJJ, I don't care. In the way catch, you got Catch Can, which is probably one of the biggest ones. Even if you can find a friend of yours that's a good collegiate wrestler, is going to teach you a lot that you'll never know.
Yeah.
Judo, jiu-jitsu, like traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu is great. And just train it. Get the licks in and don't be afraid to take any.
Yeah.
That's the best thing I can say. And then, like, if you've normally used to being a grappler, you find yourself being a grappler, try shooting for the other side of that. I love Muay Thai. I love striking arts in general, but because the adversaries, dude, they're cross training.
Mm-hmm.
They're cross training. I promise you, they are cross training. They're getting it. And if you don't, anymore nowadays, I bet you I can line up 10 guys at any given time, at any given place. And I can bet you I can pull out at least 5 who've either trained jiu-jitsu or they know explicitly how to do a single leg takedown.
Huh.
Anywhere. I don't care. I can stop in any mall and pull 5 guys out.
Like
and
that.
I guarantee you I can get at least 5.
Yeah. And
so
I feel like just like shooting, you need to practice what you suck at, not necessarily.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love when people say, well, that's a fine motor skill, so I can't practice that. Okay, wait a second. How do motor skills become gross? Start with.
Mm-hmm.
You practice fine motor skill, it still becomes gross.
Yeah.
So fine motor skill is only fine motor skill to you.
Yep.
Because you're not used to doing it. But once you get enough reps, anything can become gross.
Yeah. Yep. You're not wrong. So for you, what has martial arts taught you, like, mentally, not just physically?
Under the correct conditions, it has, I've had the distinct opportunity to be around people with this very subdued, I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but like certain things don't rattle you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You try to keep a very subdued mind under, like certain things can shake you up that are rather mundane sometimes. But when it comes to like serious events, you find out that your mind goes into a completely different mode. It's weird how, if you're used to sparring and fighting, and unfortunately in my past, a lot of street fighting, but it was just playing out pure aggression. But when you spar a lot and you train with a lot of people who just beat your ass, you start learning how to control that that part of your mind that wants to freak out, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
That part of your,
or is like, yeah. You're used to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That part of your, and it's like a muscle. People don't realize it, that like when you spar and you fight and you train, that constant repetitive move, that constant repetitive of pressing your emotions, like expanding and contracting them, and suppressing certain things and allowing certain things to do what they're going to do. And then a lot of times this idea of like, okay, just stop and breathe. Just try to keep your respiratory under control so that you can try to get through something. That's where I think, where I've found where the grounding arts, where the grappling arts have really helped me, because for that reason, you basically, you got somebody that's mauling you, and a lot of times you're in very uncomfortable positions for long periods of time and your body is screaming,
right?
And then you don't want to breathe, you want to freak out, but then you can't because they're paying attention too. Right. Most people don't understand that good ground fighters, they know how to, they're thieves of respiration. Most folks don't even realize that. Good ground fighters they're an absolute thief of respiratory ability. That's one of the biggest weapons that ground fighters use, is they inhibit your ability to breathe.
Yeah.
And when you work in it, when you're trying to conduct yourself in a respiratory constricted environment, your mind wants to freak out. I can't breathe, I'm not getting enough oxygen. You'll find that your body will rebel. And the crazy thing is that, you get choked out a couple times, you get it, you get that out of your system. Yeah, just move along. And then once you start trying to play into that, you start learning how to try to control those emotions when you get pressed. And that's a really good thing, people. I mean, because anybody, if you haven't had it done, it's like the same thing when you crawl into a boxing ring with somebody. If you crawl into a boxing ring and you're afraid to get hit, the very first gym that first training academy I ever went to, I remember walking into this place, and I remember there was this red circle in the far corner of the gym. And I walk up to the instructor and I said, "Hey, I'm here to learn, blah, blah, blah." And he shakes his head and he goes, "Yes, yes." And he tells me to stand over there in that red circle. I said, "Okay, great." So I walk over there and I stand. It was a Muay Thai school in the late 80s. And I stand in the red circle and I see him walk over to a student who's working out, and I see him talking and they're conversing. He's pointing over there and he's thing. And he walks over with the kid and he goes, "Okay, stand here, put your hands down." I said, "Okay." I'm standing here like this. And before I could say anything, the student leveled me with a right cross, just dropped me like third period French. And he picked me up. The instructor picks me up. He goes, "Okay, now that's over." And I said, "Why did he hit me?" He goes, "Well, I want to make sure you could have asked me. I've been hit a million times."
Yeah.
But it was the point that I want to make sure you're not afraid to be hit.
Right.
The same thing with grappling. You get choked out the very first time. The crazy thing is, the very first time you ever choked out, you feel like you're going to freak out. I mean, like the world is coming to an end. I mean, it's scary. I'm not going to lie to you. The first time it ever happens is scary. But after after you have had it done the first time and they wake you up, you just kind of come out of it and you're like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm still here. Let's keep going." But I think you have to people, it's good. It's good to be humbled. Humility is a powerful thing. And the next thing is that these guys, believe it or not, there's a lot of guys that they're not choking you out for the wrong reasons, if that makes any sense. A lot of those guys are choking you out because you either, well, you allowed me to slip your guard, or you allowed me to do this. That's why I'm in here. And that's why you're getting choked out. There's consequences. Yeah. Like everything else in life, there's consequences to decisions. Well, nothing more so than in a martial atmosphere. It doesn't get more consequential than that.
So I've learned, if you see a red circle, You're about to get hit, bro.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. Nap.
No. But what I was going to think of as you're talking is you're almost establishing a baseline for people. So that they know where it's going, they know what's happening. And then, like you said, then they can understand, oh, I can still get it. I can deal with this. Yeah.
Yeah. It's in like, for certain arts, I love the concept of the warrior ethos. I don't care what art it is. They have all kind of got their own thing going on. Like for us knife guys, Filipino martial arts guys, there's a concept and a mindset that we call the feeder. It's called the feeder mind. And it's basically, we talk about it like it's a current. It's like a current that flows. And no matter what's going on that you may understand or see actively, it's almost like if you're in a debate or you're in a conversation with somebody and you're with your vocabulary and your nuances in vocabulary, you are leading the conversation in a particular direction, but you're doing it subversively. Okay. That's the feeder mind. Is that in this, like, even though I'm not armed, I'm already armed.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Even though it looks like it's like, we don't like to use the word defensive tactics. We don't use that terminology, because for me to use the term defensive tactic means I've already taken a submissive role.
Defensive. Gotcha.
I'm defending. No, that's, we don't think that way. It's kind of like my favorite line in one of the Marvel movies. First Avengers, when Iron Man and Captain America have got a hold of Loki and they're flying out, and Thor lands on the roof and comes in, takes off with Loki. All right. So Iron Man loads up and he's getting ready to leave. Captain America tells him, he says, wait, we have to develop a plan of attack. And Stark turns and looks at him and goes, I have a plan. Attack.
Yep.
That's the feeder mind. That's a pop culture reference to the feeder mind.
Look at that. I think there's stuff in Avengers and all of that people need to go watch.
It's hilarious. But I found I was saying there like, there's just some really cool, but to me, I saw that one scene, and I'm actually going to start referencing some of the pop culture references. In my Goon Rules stuff. I'm going to start making reference to that. I mean, because that's the feeder mind, man.
Millennials.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care how, I don't care what it takes to get the message across, as long as it gets across.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like, and I think there's a stigma too. Like, in my career of martial arts, I've run across, and especially, Wing Chun, the system that I was with is very European.
Okay.
So that organization, particular organization, there was a lot of women, and a lot of people, like homosexuals and people, like very broad spectrum of individuals. And let me tell you something, man. I tell you, late 90s, early 2000s, I met some people that were just real ass kickers, man. And gender and whatever sexual preference you were, nobody gave a crap.
Yeah.
Nobody gave a crap. You could be standing there getting your face bashed in by anybody. And I think there's a bit of a stigma now, like you've got to be this alpha apex male in order to run like that. I got news for you. I've run into alpha apex humans in this lifetime, people that you would not suspect to be in that much control of their ethos, of the world that is surrounding them. And that has given me a great deal of insight. Maybe it's because I've traveled.
Yeah.
I've been around and spoke to different people and crossed hands with a lot of people and done some different things. But I think that's why I can sit back and say, I think it's a mindset. I don't care what your orientation is. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care. It's irrelevant to me, because I've seen that mindset that I've got control over this.
Yeah.
So in other words, I'm going to take control over my safety.
Well, and it doesn't matter. A criminal is not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to hit them, they're gay, or I'm not going to hit them, that's a female.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. Yeah.
They're not going to know that. They're going to attack anybody that has money or something they want or worse. So
yeah. And the, you know, that's why I think the gun industry in particular, I think could stop. I think last year was the beginning of it. You know, what was it? By March of last year, I forget how many millions of guns had been sold, and these were new time salespeople.
Yeah.
And I think the firearms industry at that point, if they'd have taken that momentum, they were poised to say something, and they could have.
They could have of personal defense, of medical training, of anything else that they can take care of, and they
I mean, for once they could have been but again, politics and whatever socio-political position took center stage instead of it being a human thing.
Yep.
You know, the firearms, this idea of self-protection, self-value, because the idea of 2A, the founding fathers never said 2A only applies to this group of people,
right,
or this group of people. And to me, the idea of bearing arms, it's not just, oh, well, you know, this. No, there's their opportunity to all encompass. They could have really brought in a whole new group of people that could have made a huge difference. But again, it's socio-political, however you want to lean it. But the great part about me being a knife guy, I don't give a crap. Now, if you've read On Killing, have you read On Killing?
Yes. Yeah.
So I did an interview with Gun Talk Media a few years back, and I told him, I said, you know, the problem with the idea of gun people and knife people is, you got pure gun people, pure knife people, and then you got overlapping circles in the middle. The issue with knife people is that if you've read On Killing, you understand the difference between a gun and a knife person.
Yeah.
Because it's this guy over here has got the willingness to look you in the eyes and put your candle out.
Yep.
Where this one here, it's different. It's at range. There's a separation. I forget what Grossman calls it. There's this, because you're separated from your target.
Yeah.
That displacement in space causes there's a difference in reaction to the action that's being taken. Yeah. And I think that the great thing about knife people is that, dude, we're all encompassing. If you've ever gone to a blade show, I mean, you see all manner of people there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I have questions about that coming up because, and again, I'm just a proponent of self-preparedness. I think that when we think about like, hey, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Well, it's the same as don't bring a gun to a knife fight. You're going to get cut and stabbed before you can ever get your gun out, right? But there's a level too of just, I have a lot of people that have guns, a lot of them that carry in their purse, their backpack. Well, that's not really preparedness. But I think about like knife people is like, if you have your head up, you're not on your phone, you're surrounding and looking around and you look like, you know, like you're self-aware, that's intimidating to anybody that's going to be an attacker or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You're not showing vulnerabilities. That's what's really the difference, I think, for me, seeing that.
I mean, those are laws of the jungle.
Yeah.
You know, you're realizing that is not, I mean, because remember that the people who prey on the weak, they're not looking for a fight. They don't want to fight. They don't want to deal with a fight. They want an easy, mark.
What is it? The red pill or whatever, those people? Blue pill, red pill?
Yeah.
Who don't think it's out there and it could happen to them.
They're the ones that walk out of Walmart, you know, on their phone midnight, all the way across the parking lot. I mean, and that's, and I think a lot of people are just extremely naive.
Yes.
To think that you're not being watched.
Yep.
You're extremely naive. Criminals criminality, they literally see what they do as a job. No, really, they do. It's a gig.
Yeah.
It's a gig, and they are very, and a lot of them are very good at it. They understand. You know, think about it. There's a concept that the military guys use. You know, a target package. Criminals operate very similar.
Okay.
You know, they treat places like Walmarts and malls and places like that. That's a game trail. And they profile.
Yep.
They know exactly what they're looking for. And they're scanning and they're going through mass amounts of human beings and they're marking potential targets. And if you don't think that that's happening when you go to Walmart or when you go to a mall, you're extremely naive.
Yeah. Yep.
And that what you're talking about right there, that self-awareness part where you're head up, you're scanning, extremely vigilant, that, believe it or not, that gets you one click off on the flag package.
It does. Like it's super lame as a girl, but I have a backpack purse. So what does that do though? That frees up my hands every single time. That's why the DoubleStar backpack, one sleeve or one whatever, is so key. But I teach a lot of females that it's like, okay, if you have a concealed carry purse and that's the way you want to carry it, then that purse should be here and your hand should be close if it needs to be happening. But hands free is huge and head up is huge, because how many people have their kid in their hands, their phone here, and their keys, and there's a lot going on, people that you
pushing the shopping cart. Another thing too is like self-awareness and threat assessment, and being able to discriminate and recognize potential threats. You don't realize, first of all, a loaded parking lot is very easy to move through discreetly. And you can be up on somebody extremely fast if you really try. And what the poor mother of 3 that's just trying to get her groceries into the car, both her hands are free. She's trying to wrangle 3 kids. You know, a person who's got ill intentions could be on her when she doesn't even realize it. He's within arm. I mean, because I try to teach people this too when I'll do a threat assessment course. There's a reason why when they set up military bases, there's the whole concept of the wire. There's a whole concept of patrolling. The reason why you patrol is you don't want the enemy at the gate. If the enemy's at the gate, you're in trouble.
Too late.
You want to intersect the enemy out at the wire. That's why you patrol. Well, moment an individual's within arm's reach of you, they're at the gate. Or we could even say, if you want to use a teller drill, you know, if you want to use the 21 foot rule, we could call the 21 foot rule the gate. They're there. They've breached your perimeter and they're in it, and they're within a few steps of being able to get to you. What you're saying is one of the most powerful, to me, the best fight that you can win is the one that you never have to get into.
Exactly.
Because all your coolness and all your tactics and all the crap you trained, I don't care how good you are. Guess what? The moment you go to fisticuffs or the moment you go to Mortal Kombat, there are no assurities.
Nope. There's
no assurities. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee you're coming out of this. You know, when you're fighting for your life, there's no guarantee. And people think, well, I've trained this and I've got this pistol, or I've trained this and I'm a Muay Thai fighter. No, you know how many Muay Thai fighters have died in the field? You know how many guys that we plant in Arlington every day, the finest that this country has to offer, don't make it. And they're 10 times the warrior we are. So here you are at home thinking you're sending, you know, your box of ammo a week downrange is going to cut it. No, man. No, the criminal element, dude, that's why they're called criminals.
I almost want people to go out and go test that theory. Go people watch. I love people watching, but sit in the right places, observe people, and trust your gut. I've had people tell me that they almost were trafficked and they felt that they were being watched, and from store to store. I'm like, you are, and you were, and that's right here in your backyard. And I remember I was at a gas station actually leaving Kentucky for all my matches, but in the middle of the night, and there was this like rape panel van. Well, I park on the way other side to fill up the gas. And this guy's just coming out, and I see him like looking at the head of the van that goes to the back of the van. And I'm like, he's already like looking to see if there's anybody else around, you know, and if you just stand there strong or you need to leave, but like, I'm not going to be on my phone or fiddling with trash. You know, I'm aware and I'm going to look at him dead in the eye. They don't like that because it's like, hey, I see your face. I know what you look like. Let's go, you know. It's a lot more things that you can do intimidating without having to pull a gun.
Yeah. And that's letting them know, because you know, they've got a plan. But the moment you recognize them and call them out, because they had a plan. They're going to walk up and they're going to do this. Well, the moment you stop and you visually engage, even if it's at range,
they hate
you visually engage, that's different. That changes everything.
Yep.
Because now you've kind of like, you've chucked the proverbial rock in their path.
Yep.
Because for a moment you stopped them. They had a plan, remember?
Oh, yeah.
They're rehearsing this in their head while they're going up and trying to walk up to you or trying to close range with you. And the moment you stop and you said, hey, whoa, what are you doing? Why are you coming close to me? Yep. What do you want? You've now like, that's the first sign that you've stuttered them. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that I think saved me that day. But head on a swivel, guys. I did want you to talk a little bit about, like, you've dedicated your life to also learning self-defense with knives. So how do you blend that in with the use of martial arts? Do you actually like bring your knives to the gym, or what do you do?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. So so knife being a ranged weapon.
Yep.
Believe it or not, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but there's a lot of rehearsing that goes on up here. And to be a good combatant in general, you need to have the fundamentals down. So for me, the fundamentals are key. Understanding the proper concepts, maintaining range. And for us, maintaining range is not the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
Maintaining range means I'm on top of you. Mm-hmm. For me, maintaining range is I'm staying as close to you as possible. It's different.
Yeah.
You know, we're gun guys. I want to get some space. Mm-hmm. For me, it's different. My weapon's out and I want to close the gap on you.
Gotcha.
That's a different. It's a
defensive. We're doing attack.
I'm attacking. Yeah. I'm attacking completely.
Okay, here's some dumb questions actually for like
sure.
I saw this. I went through the police academy, believe it or not, and I saw so many police officers are in training with their dominant hand pull their knife or pull their flashlight. Well, how are you going to shoot now?
Yeah.
Right. So where should they keep their knives? How should they draw their knives? Folding, fixed, all of that. I mean, what do you recommend?
So I definitely, weak hand training. That was actually one of the biggest things that I did with law enforcement guys was giving them weak hand development skills, or just say non-dominant. They hate when I say weak hand, just say non-dominant. Non-dominant development is a big one. And believe it or not, I incorporate a lot of Filipino martial arts into that because they train that exclusively. Filipinos are really big, especially since we're big boxers. You have to be able to fight conventional as well as southpaw. You have to be able to swing either way, just because you don't know where you're going to be at. The second thing is be okay to develop small skills first. So anybody that would be wanting to learn non-dominant hand development, probably one of the best things you can start out doing with trying to develop that is write. Start to write. Try to write with your left hand, or if you're right hand, or vice versa. Calligraphy is probably one of the first skills that they learn in any sort of Asian art, and it's directly associated with swordsmanship. And even in the Filipino martial arts, the Japanese do it, the Chinese do it, and the Filipinos do it as well. So calligraphy is big in this idea of developing any sort of. It all begins there because some of the finest motor skills in the hand are developed in writing.
Oh, cool.
So writing is a good way. The next thing is be okay with a Kaizen mindset, which is small steps. Be okay with making small steps and be okay with making mistakes. The next thing is as far as what, that's going to be really hard for me because I'm extremely partial, but if you like folders, great. For me, folders are utilitarian. I'm very much a fixed blade guy because her bags are packed, and she's ready to go to work. So, there's a lot of great options. There's ATFs out the fronts. They're good. Automatics. There's all kinds of automatic out there. If you gotta, try to cut the corner on that, then automatics are great. Flippers are good. I'm not a big, I'm a 2 is 1, 1 is none kind of guy. So if you're already carrying a pistol, you got a blade on your non-dominant side. You could even have, I'm even completely for having a third one. I'm like, I carry at times I'll carry a fixed blade on my strong side, and then I'll have a folder. I'll have a traditional style, like pocket knife,
Yeah.
like an Uncle Henry style thing in my left-hand pocket. And then I'll have a flipper in my back pocket. People are like, why? Well, because I don't know, whatever, I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it.
Yeah. Ankle carry seems unique for fixed blades, and it's less weight than a firearm. Like, so even if you have a firearm, I've seen a lot of like the flare jeans, but having a cool strap to your leg seems practical.
Yeah, as long as you train it.
Yeah,
the practicality, again, that kind of goes back to what is your range preference? Are you a striker or a grappler? A lot of strikers, it's going to be very difficult. If you have very few grappling skills, it's going to be very difficult for you to get to your ankle blade.
Right.
If you don't have and understand how to get to that position and you don't practice it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm extremely partial with that. And as far as types, God, take your pick. I'm a real big fan of spear tip. I'm a real big fan of a spear point. I like spear points, especially for self-defense, because they contain all the best elements, in my opinion, especially for the concept of sewing machine, where, some of the activities where you're not going to be doing much slashing. Your most devastating attacks with a knife are always going to be penetrative. It's always going to be punching holes in the bucket. The more holes in the bucket, the more liquid comes out of it. That's the way it goes. And spear points are awesome for that, because the penetration in muscle tissue is fantastic. And also your belly on your primary bevel is, so like normally if you have a blade that has let's say a buck knife, it's one of the easiest ones. Everybody knows what they are. The belly on that is a predominant belly. Well, what most people don't realize is the reason why the knife is shaped that way is for a skinning or a slicing action.
Right.
To be able to slice. Well, the knife naturally, because of that, if you ever ask a person what a really good skinner is that blade that it's not going to dive as much, so that you can just kind of easily work your way through the hide. Well, a spear point has a flatter trajectory on the primary, which means at high speed slashing with a perpendicular bevel. In other words, if I'm holding the knife straight out like in a fencing grip and I just slice, it's more like a razor. The primary bevel is a flatter, so it doesn't want to come out. It's naturally a blade with a belly. It naturally wants to come out. So I have to self-consciously apply pressure to be able to cut deeper. Right. So if you're gonna panic slash, you want a flatter primary trajectory. You want to be more razor-like, because it's going to stay to where it's going to cut deeper. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I like spear points for any ladies that may be listening to the show. If you're not really skilled, if you got to have a secondary on you, if you're not going to carry a fixed blade, I definitely recommend, if it's applicable to the state that you live in, I definitely recommend a good OTF, a good out the front. A lot of your out the fronts are double-edged, which will make them very good for stabbing, for deep penetration. Yeah, OTFs are great for that. And again, there's something, if you already have a gun, and they're very light duty. And if you're on a run or a jog or something like that, chances are you're in jogging shorts, or you're going to be in tighter pants or yogas or something like that. You want to be able to keep it somewhere where it's not going to come flying out. Most of them have a clip. Yeah. You may not even be able to, I don't know. I'm not very good with, as far as the way pistols and the way of concealment, but I know that a lot of the really good OTFs, like Microtech makes great OT. They're a little pricey, but they're really good. Yeah. But you can find, I'd say try to pay at least, if you want to get an out the front, be willing to pay at least $75 to $100 at least.
Yeah.
Don't go to the gas station and buy an OTF, please.
So
don't
I
do
have a
that.
question later on talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do yourself a favor. I mean, you wouldn't buy a $50 gun. Don't buy, a $50 knife out the front OTF. Don't do that.
No. We're talking about one purchase that can save your life. That's less expensive than insurance, hospital bill. funeral.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't. It's like being on an airplane and strapping your ass to the lowest bidder. Come on.
Yeah, it's priorities at the end of the day, and that's what's so frustrating. I see a lot of people. When I was younger, when I was getting my concealed carry, 21 years old, I was like, to the day I have to take a class, get my permit. Well, like, I can't afford that. $50 for a class. Okay, I can tell you where that $50 is going to come from. Your drinking budget, your eating budget, your coffee at Starbucks. Like, I'll tell you where that comes from. So I don't want to hear that. Prioritization. So.
Exactly. And your willingness to make sacrifices to make sure you're going to have what you need, there's a lot of really good imports right now. CRKT's building some great blades. They've got a couple of punch daggers out there. That's kind of the next thing for me. If you're going to go fixed blade, and if you're not real experienced, punch dagger is great because they're very hard to get away from somebody once they got them in their hands. And then you're just slashing. You're like a 4-year-old. You're like a 4-year-old with a Sharpie. I mean, it just, you're just slashing. That's it. Stabbing and slashing, and without getting into classes, if you're a lady, whatever comes near you, stab it. Hands, arms, face, anything. Just poke a hole in it. Just jam holes in it. The more holes you could jam, the better.
Yeah. I try not to laugh, but I was thinking of ballistic gel testing and dummy testing that I've gotten to do, and it's quite stress relieving.
Yeah, it's great. I've been wanting to buy the one with the bones and everything in it, because I've got a couple of things that I wanted to take that one karambit that I have, and I wanted to do a video. Give me 30 seconds. No, give me 15 seconds to see how much damage I can do to this thing.
On slow-mo.
Oh, it's great. It just, ballistic gelatin is a blast to have fun with. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many choices. The biggest thing too is you got to get training too. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to make the knife a part of what you do, and unfortunately,
harder to find.
Well, here's the deal. You get a lot of people who teach a lot of defensive knife, but they don't teach you knife.
Yeah.
That's like me teaching you gun defense, but I'm not going to teach you how to fire a gun.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
It makes zero sense.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense. So like I've taught classes because the way I teach is you learn the knife first. I don't even teach you any defensive tactics.
Nice.
You learn the knife first. That's it. Right off the get-go. You're learning wet templates. You're learning vitals templates. You're learning understanding passive energy. You're learning how to deal with circular and forward energy. You're learning footwork. You're learning how to close space quickly, and you're learning how to deploy. And you're learning how to deploy and hit as many targets as you can with it as fast as you possibly can. And it's all based on Kaizen. Basically, I don't know if you've ever studied Kaizen method. I teach based on Kaizen method. It's actually the same method that the Japanese use in manufacturing and industry. And actually the basis of learning any Japanese art is Kaizen.
I need you to host a class. I don't know where, I don't know when, but I need you to put like on a class. Yeah,
you set it up. We'll figure it out. Kaizen is this idea of small steps. Okay. You start small. Frodo said it, or not Frodo, Baggins said it. The longest journey begins with the first step. So small steps, and Kaizen focuses on that. You got small incremental steps to an achievable goal. Okay, you met that goal. We've developed skill sets to get there. Okay, so now we're going to take these skill sets and we're going to move on to the next goal.
Gotcha.
That's the way that works, and that's how I teach knife. Yeah, it's in that particular context. A lot of guys.
People a gun at the first class, like a loaded gun. Here you go, figure it out.
No, you don't do that. But the hard part about it though is not a lot of arts do. The Filipinos primarily do that. They teach you the weapon. Yeah. And then you learn everything. In other words, it's not like, okay, well, wait a second, we're gonna do all this stuff and then we'll learn a knife later. Filipinos don't do that way. They actually, and not only that, is Filipinos are really good about associative tactics. In other words, so the same strike, what we would refer to as a 1 and a 2, or basically a forward and a backhand hammer fist, applies to whether I'm swinging a stick, whether I'm slicing, whether I'm striking. It's still the same. I still apply the same technique. And then because the way it closes at 5 ranges close. Well, the only thing that changes is your ability to move react to pressure, and then feed stimulus. That's going to change because as the range closes, your inability to be able to visually account for activity and movement changes. You can't. So there's a lot more pressure involved with the hands and being able to move.
That's neat. Okay. Take a class from Rob, y'all. That's what I've learned.
Goon rules.
Yep. So, okay, for you, going back, do you remember the first knife that you ever bought or got yourself?
First knife was actually given to me.
Yeah.
And the first knife that was actually given to me was it was an old timer slip joint by my grandfather. You know, the typical ones that have got usually one large blade and then two small ones. It was typically something that he would use to clean his pipe out or whatever. And I remember he had this junk drawer, and I was probably about 9. I had just gone to move and live with them after my father passed away. And I remember he had this drawer that he had candy bars in. And I remember he sent me into this drawer to get candy bars. And I saw these 2 knives in the drawer. And I remember being 9 years old, and I brought the candy bar and a knife. And I was like, wow, Grandpa, can I have this knife? And he's like, no, you can't have it right now. We'll talk about it. So I probably aggravated the crap out of him. And then, basically pick one. I said, I'm like, I can leave the candy bar.
Yeah, I don't want it anymore.
I really don't know if I want this candy bar anymore. And then when I was turned 10, he ended up giving me an old timer. And then I had found out from somebody when I was around 11 that the best knives came from files.
Like nail files?
No, like a file that you would use for filing wood or steel.
Oh, okay.
So I remember being in the shop and coming across a file back in the tool room. I'm like, oh, I can make a knife out of this. So there I was grinding away on this brand new file, and I got in trouble for that. But and then I ended up actually doing that, actually making a few knives out of files. And but 11 or 12.
Making your first knife at 11 or 12.
Just trying to make them, just grinding up a bunch of files and getting in trouble, just that was it. I mean, that's what I was doing. That's what was happening then. I remember using a benchtop grinder, just an old stone grinder, and then being there grinding the crap out of this, taking the temper out of it and everything, just useless as a knife afterwards. But and then, then later on, my uncle, I had an uncle who worked for Schrade. One of the first Schrade plants was in Ellenville, New York. And I had an uncle who worked for Schrade. And he had given another one of my uncles, my grandfather's brother, my mother's brother, my Uncle Dave. He had given him a Schrade that it was actually a factory second from the facility. They gave it to my uncle. And then when I started deer hunting, I started bow hunting at 13. And when I started bow hunting, he gave me that Schrade, and that was the second knife that was ever given to me. And I still have it. Actually, it's in my gun case with my deer rifle.
That's awesome. I always ask people if they kept their first, whatever it was, firearm, knife, whatever. And so if you
the old timer, I don't have anymore, but that Schrade, I still have it.
Really cool. So I gotta know. Here's the question. How'd you get your nickname Filo?
My wife. She is the one who keeps me. She will not allow me to get full of myself in any way, shape, or form. So when the surveying industry went bad, well, actually, it wasn't just the surveying industry; it was the housing industry went bad in 2008. Took a really hard hit, and so I started making training knives out of aluminum, and I would hand file. I would have a bandsaw, and I'd hand file to make trainers. And I was doing pretty good with those. I had friends of mine that I trained with that would buy them. And one day my wife yells downstairs, and she doesn't call me Filo. She calls me Geppetto. You know who Geppetto is, right?
Pinocchio? Whatever.
Yeah, the father, the shoemaker. She calls me in Spanish downstairs. She calls me Geppetto, come up and eat. And I was like, really? Come on, man. So a few weeks later, she yells down to me and she calls me Filo. And it just stuck. And I knew, because in Spanish, afilao means it's sharp. The filo is the sharp side of the knife. It's also the term used in baking for a dough. It's called filo dough. And the reason why it's called filo is because it's fine, which it's a very thin dough. That's why we call this, on the Spanish, we call this sharp side of the knife the filo, because it's the very thin edge of the blade.
Fantastic facts there, guys.
Yeah, that's how it all happened in 12 years. Geppetto. Yeah. That, talk about letting, because I was feeling really good about myself too. I was like, yeah, man, I'm doing such a great job, patting myself on the back, and then she, in one moment, she's like the balloon. Yep, all the air came out. But and then ever since then, and it's funny because it's only the people who really know me really, really well, specifically in the industry, know me by that. The funny thing is like, people will call me that. Like, we'll be at a booth or something, we'll be at a blade show or something like that, and people will address me, they'll call me Filo, and Jesse and Jack are like, who are you talking to? And they're like, no, we're talking to Filo over here. And they're like, who is that? And no, that's me, dude. I mean, because outside of these circles, I'm another guy,
Right. Yeah. Totally different. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's where I got it from.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I think that people are going to forget that came from Pinocchio, by the way. This just made me really sad to think about that.
Yeah. And she still laughs to this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She's my biggest fan. So
good.
She's my biggest fan, and my kids, my wife and my kids have been, I'll be honest with you. There's a segment out of the book of Deuteronomy that I pray before I lay hands on anything. I think Deuteronomy, concerning craftsmanship. And before I lay hands on any piece of steel or I do any kind of work, I pray that prayer. Wow. And I also, I pray that prayer, and I pray the Aaronic blessing before I'm going to commence to making anything. So everything that I have and everything that I am and everything that I could ever be is because the God of my fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, through Christ, Yeshua, is I would be nothing without him. Everything that good that has ever come out of me has been because of him, because I know what I'm like on my own. And I hate to be serious about it, but where I'm at right now, people would look at where I'm at and they would be like, bro, what about this and what about that? You're doing this. I'll be honest with you, dude. I'm just a goon, man. I'm serious. I'm just a goon. I'm just a goon who doesn't deserve half of what he's got. And I wouldn't have what I have, whether it be, the ability to create or any of these things, without the Father. I'd be lost without him. And, I have a wonderful family who supports me. And, the people who are closest to me understand that. And, people say, oh, great job, you're doing good. Well, I'm not really doing anything. I'm walking in the path that he's given me. That's all.
Yeah. You're doing a great job of it. And I bet your entire family is trained, and men will be scared of your daughters already.
Don't even go there. Mike, it's because they're raised with it. Like they were into it until they were like 12, 13.
Yeah.
And then now they're just doing their own thing. My son is coming around, because he just wants to be in shape and he wants to be active. And so he's picking, but now he's my uke, believe it or not, though. I mean, I'll go do demonstrations and stuff around here and I grab him because because a lot of times I'll be sitting there thinking about something, but like, hey, come here a second, and he knows just enough that I can play around with him.
Yeah.
And for that, but he's getting into a little bit. The girls now, they're all armed. Actually, they all got knives. Now my wife and my daughters, my oldest daughter they're really chomping at the bit to get their pistol permits. They're really chomping at the bit. Now it's time. It's
that I can do the Florida one for them. Florida can get them all of the states, and I don't have to have a specific classroom and all that stuff. So
really,
offline. But
well, they took a course in chat.
Okay.
They took a course in chat, great one. There's a place down there called Zerkops. I need to get you hooked up with them, Tammy and Ron. So Tammy and Ron was an instructor at CPD.
Okay.
And that's how I met him. He was the one who would chaperone me when I would teach in service and I would teach academy. He was one of the lead instructors. And then after, he's still in the police department. He's actually more or less running the academy now. Now he's got his own place in Chat just outside in Harrison, Tennessee. But they'd be great people for you to know. They're good folks, and they've got it going on, man. As far as teaching goes, they're popping the lock, man. They're moving people, man. They're doing a really good job of it too.
That'd be awesome. And I think that there is a lot of people out there that don't know this. Florida offers out of state residency permits. So you still get all of the same reciprocity and benefits. So you don't have to be in Florida to take your Florida class and get your Florida permit. And that's across the board with other states issue non-resident permits. So take advantage of those for people listening. Like, they're out there. So
we're thinking about getting a residency in Florida, actually, because we've actually talked about that. There's a possibility that Florida may be the location that I'll retire in.
Yeah.
Just because we have a lot of family there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that'd be definitely something to talk about, getting them squared away. But another thing too is they work at UK.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that, because like my daughter wants to carry, but she wouldn't be able to carry on campus. She'd have to keep her firearm in the vehicle.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, well, that's better than nothing. So they keep, I made custom Damascus Kiridachi for all my wife and kids. So they all carry custom Damascus Kiridachi. They keep it in their purse. And my son has one that he'll keep in his pocket. But they got something on them. They've always got something on them all the time.
Yeah. You got to instill that. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Whether parents want to believe it or not, it's here. So get ready.
What's here?
Everything. Danger's here. The criminals are here.
Oh yeah.
It's on our home front. It's not just overseas and all that we see.
No. I send pictures to people all the time. I'll do the memes, while you're sitting at the house eating Cheetos and doing podcasts. They're working out. Yeah, or Pop-Tarts. They're working out right now while you're doing this podcast and getting ready to crush a Pop-Tart. They're out there getting a swole on.
For a 4-hour podcast, it's like, I need something. Okay, you're killing me. You're not wrong. Okay, this is a fun question though. How many times have you accidentally cut yourself on blades?
Only once.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yep, it's true. You can ask the guy. You can ask the guys at the shop. I almost never cut myself.
Your whole life.
Well, okay. So I cut myself once, but I wasn't working with. So I used to like to build car audio equipment.
Okay.
And I cut myself with a razor because I was skinning material off of a board. So I cut myself right below my thumb to the bone with a razor, but that wasn't me. Working. Yeah. When I was surveying one time, we were in Homestead. We were in the Everglades, and I was cutting line, and my hands were real sweaty. And I hit a branch, and the blade came out of my hands, and it did a twirly, and it came down and cut me right across the knee.
Oh.
But that's it. I mean, I've cut myself like doing work mostly, like with a chisel. I jam myself with a chisel, run myself with a screwdriver, or working stuff like that. But like with a knife, once. I don't know if you've ever seen the karambits that I build.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, the Halcone that they sell at DoubleStar. That's my girl. That's the blade that I cut my teeth on professionally.
Cool.
I've had one bite me to the bone, but that's it. I literally had one run me right through the palm of my hand, right to the bone. But that's it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I'm really, 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 really locked up.
Like cooking in the kitchen, chopping things, nothing. Okay, I guess for all of y'all listening, I've cut my hand with every single knife I've purchased.
I cut myself one time really good. We were at USN. We were at Usual Suspect Network show 2 or 3 years ago, and I reached into the box and one of the knives was out of its sheath, and I cut myself. But that's it. As far as like, hey, I was messing around or I was doing this and I cut myself or I was sharpening, no.
Doesn't happen. Okay, fair enough.
No, it just doesn't. I mean, I'm trying to think, and no, it just doesn't happen. Like I said, you can even ask my guys. I mean, because they're with me all the time.
Yeah. No, I believe you. That's pretty nice. I'm accident prone. We know this though.
Knives and being accident prone, not good.
It's not good.
Not good. Bad things are gonna happen.
I can't stay on my feet. Like I do end up on the ground, so I need to be a grappler.
Yeah. Well, no, you're doing it by proxy though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm not there because I want to be there. I'm just ending up there.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, going back to, we were talking about fixed blades, folder knives, and all of that. But if you were to put together like a knife starter kit, or like you said, having multiple ones on them, what would you recommend someone have? And why would someone use, a fixed blade versus a folding blade?
Well, like I'd mentioned before, is the amount of movement that it takes to get a folder open. Mm-hmm. Even a thumb, and I've actually pressure tested a lot of this. I've got a lot of guys that I work with will take training folders, and I'll basically say, okay, I'm going to do a typical scenario where we're going to do a takedown. You got to get to your folder out, and you've got to be able to stab me vitally before I take you to the ground. Huh. And it very seldom can happen, especially just because of the amount of motor skill that it takes to get a folder out, and especially if you don't train it.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't train it and you don't understand how to keep range. The reasoning, again, I like folders. I mean, I like fixed blades because it's just basically, I mean, it's draw it, fire.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. Bang. It's no thought process. And then as you progress into the more mechanical versions, yes, it helps you bridge that gap. But I've spent some time with Murphy, and what can happen will. So I'm not a luck guy. Like that's where, like, the funny thing is I talk a lot with the folks at DoubleStar, and they're really big on, they've had great luck with a lot of what they do. I'm not that guy. Luck has not ever been on my side. So to me, when people start talking about luck, I'll say, oh, you mean where preparation and opportunity meet? And they're like, yeah, but this is, yeah, but we were just really lucky. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You mean the last dying wish to those who think winning was an accident? That luck? See, yeah. So for me, I'm not that guy. So for me, I try to put the odds in my favor. Right. So yeah, again, as you go up in complexity, it does bridge the gap in deployability, but there's, in my opinion, purely opinion, there's more that can go wrong.
Yeah, well, it's like adding a safety. I don't believe in having safeties on your carry guns. 2011s are awesome unless you train. Yeah. But yeah, if people can just draw, point, shoot, that's gonna be the majority of people carrying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even I learned this, hanging out with guys who have, kicked doors in for a living. I was amazed to find out trigger, the muzzle and trigger discipline and the use of a safety. I never thought of it, but I've talked to guys who have been in firefight. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, oh dude, when you're like in close proximity, when you're moving around each other and all that, man, that thing is going all the time. It just becomes instinctive. Oh, I got to move. Boom. I got to move. Boom. It's on and off. I never thought about it till we got talking about it. I'm like, whoa, but that just proves that people say, oh, well, that's fine motor skill. Well, you just made it gross because you're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Because you have to. You got no choice. You need to do it, Yeah,
absolutely. So, okay, going into more of like the custom knives. So we're away from folding, fixed, all of that. Actually, can you tell us how you came up with the idea for your first design at DoubleStar?
Well, first of all, I was designing before I went to DoubleStar.
That's right.
So they took me on board as a designer.
Cool. Okay.
So, I had a number of designs that they procured via royalty from me. So the first 3 blades that they commissioned that they started carrying was the Motac, the Dracon, and the Fang. The Motac was designed by Ray D'Analdo. And then I facilitated the construction of it because at the time I was building customs of it. The Dracon was one of my designs. And then so was the Fang. So I was already designing. As a matter of fact, Jesse Starnes, VP of DoubleStar, was actually my first client.
Oh, neat.
He actually possesses and owns the first Halcone that I ever made.
That's really cool.
So he actually, huh?
You didn't keep it for yourself?
Trust me, I wasn't in a position to keep it. You know, I personally own very few knives.
Yeah, it's kind of.
So what I do now is I buy knives
Mhm.
from my contemporaries, or they'll give them to me.
Yeah.
And then I give those to my son.
Yep.
Or my kids.
Yep.
And that'll be the amount of my collection. Why? Because those are the people that influenced me, or they're in my circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he has those blades. Those are and I told him, I said, when I go, take these and spread it, because my kids know all these people. They were raised around them.
They grew up in, yeah.
Yeah, they grew up around them. So, Darren Soroy and Chris Williams and John Hutchison and Ryan Johnson from RMJ and whoever, these are Kim Breed. These are all people that my kids know, and they're my contemporaries. So that those are like for me, like one of the most sought after things that I even have in the way of knives. Jesse Starnes. So one of my favorite makers is a guy by the name of Elmer Rausch. He's the blacksmith.
Okay.
He is the blacksmith. He actually builds hammers for blacksmiths. I mean, he's the man. And I've always wanted a tomahawk. I've always wanted a period axe from him. And Jesse got me one 2 years ago from Elmer.
You cry?
Huh?
You cry?
No, I didn't cry, but I was definitely touched. It was awesome. And it's something that's just like one of the things that I hold dear, that, when it comes time for for me to move on to the next life, my kids, I tell them this is but I tell them this is a big deal. And they know Elmer, Elmer's up there in years now, and so they're like, I tell them, this is Mr. Rausch's, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh my God, and again, it's because it was part of their lives. They know these people. So for, when that day comes, some of those cats are probably going to be sitting out in the audience,
Mm-hmm.
and it means something because we've all broke bread together. We spent time together. I learned from them, and so for custom knives, designing, that is probably one of the things that I enjoy the most about knife making is designing.
Yeah. I think that's true of a lot of artists and a lot of people who own businesses. Like, they don't want to do the businessy stuff, maybe not even produce them, but like design it, come up with that idea, test it out. It's really, it's fascinating. So, okay, going back, you were 11, 12, you were playing around with things that you shouldn't have, but you're making knives.
I was getting in trouble.
Did you ever actually, how did you actually learn properly, or did you just self-teach yourself how to make?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I had the fundamental skills, but in 2000, so I got to do some math now. So I've been making for 12 years professionally.
36.
Oh yeah. I was about 35, 36.
9?
Yeah. I was about 35, 36. And the bottom fell out. At the time, I was training Ryan Johnson privately from RMJ Tactical. I was teaching him stick fighting privately. And one of the trainings, I had come in from work and it was really tough. Things were really tight. He asked me what was wrong. And I told him, and he goes, well, and again, the knife industry back in those days, it wasn't like what it is now. It was kind of lucrative. And he goes, well, I think, he told me, he said, well, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do CAD? Can you work in a shop, whatever? And I go, yeah, I can do all that. And he goes, I think you got what it takes. So we started playing around. So what we would do is we'd collaborate at night. He would send me sketches and I'd send him sketches. And the very first project was the Halcone. I wanted to make a karambit. I wanted to be known for making karambits because karambit's one of my favorite things to make. And Ryan, it basically my tutelage in the way of knife making is to be so like initially Ryan Johnson of RMJ Tactical, John Hutchinson, who amongst the in the Southeast, he's a very well-known custom maker out of Chattanooga, and John Graham from Cleveland, Tennessee.
Nice.
John Graham is a in my opinion, probably one of the finest folder makers and grinders on the planet. John, anything that I know of intricate knife grinding, I learned from John Graham. You guys heard it here. John Graham Knives, RMJ Tactical, and John Hutchison. Then, so I started making knives, and I was making knives for about three years. And I planned I learned through Ryan about the guys at Spartan Blades out in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Spartan Blades and Chris Williams from Wilmot Grinders and all these guys are basically, I call it my North Carolina family. Yeah. Because they took me in. These are all retired military guys. Most of them are tier 1 level operators, but they're knife guys first, and they're great people first. And so my very first trip out to North Carolina, I spent a weekend. Darren Soroy from TCT Knives, he opened his doors to a guy he didn't even know. Let me stay with him, and I spent 3 days working with him and Chris Williams from Wilmot Grinders. Chris Williams is a master knife smith. As a matter of fact, Jack Stottlemyre from Rustic Knives was on Forged and Fire for the military edition. I don't know if you saw it. He represented the Army.
That's cool though. Forged and Fire.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jack was on there. Well, Chris taught Jack everything he knows. Well, I'm not gonna say everything, but Chris was one of the people who got Jack started. So I went there, and I spent 3 days with those guys. And first thing was Chris Williams. I think I was on my last day there, and we sat down and we went and grabbed some lunch at a place close by to him. And we're sitting there at dinner, and he looks at me, and Chris is he doesn't look it, but Chris is a surf bum at heart. He's a surf bum at heart. He was in an engineering group in special forces, but he's a perfectionist, and he is extremely motivated. We sit down at lunch, and we're eating, and he goes, "Rob, can you please can I just tell you something?" And I'm like, oh my God. Well, first of all, if Chris tells you he's going to tell you something, he's not going to hold anything back. Right. So I'm like, and I had taken some blades up there to learn how to do some stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes, bro, dude, you need to quit sandbagging. You need to make a run at this.
Oh yeah.
And I just sat there, and to have this guy tell me that, and I was like, whoa. You know, it hit me. Maybe it made me feel like I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, and so then that evening I stayed with Soroy, and I'm at his house hanging out with him, and we're making. And Darren is a retired sergeant major, Ranger, and he basically tells me the same thing, dude. You could put your mind to whatever you want to do and never stop learning. Same thing. And I got to tell you, when I came back, I remember driving home, drive back to Chat. Yeah. And as you probably already well know, there's no short way to North Carolina from Tennessee.
No.
There's no short way. Yeah, there's no short way. So I'm driving back, and my head is in the clouds. And
you're in the mountains.
Yeah. And my head is in the clouds. I'm in the mountains. I'm just going over this whole weekend.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, when I came back from that, I was changed. I had made the decision that from that point on, that I don't care what it took or how long it takes, that there's going to come a point in time where I am going to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room in this industry. I don't care what it takes.
Oh yeah.
But again, I'm the sum of my teachers. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm the sum of that. And if not for those 5 guys, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here because they never kept anything from me.
Yep.
and they were always extremely brutal. And that's another thing about a lot of these. And again, a lot of these self-taught guys, that's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. But there's one thing that I'm in a circle of about 160 guys. There's a group of us, 160 knife makers. We span the world where we're in the same group.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the thing about these cats is that we are extremely honest with each other, and I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of these new makers out there, they're out there on their own, and you're an island. Don't be an island. And I'm going to tell you why. Because contemporaries will not allow you to get away with anything. If you push crap out there, or if you're pushing things out that are questionable, these dudes will not allow you. If you have good contemporaries, they will not let you get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they will hold you to task, period, full stop. You push something out there that just doesn't look right, they'll reel you in, man. They'll reel you in, and they'll be like, dude, you need to take that back to the bench, brother. That's complete and utter crap.
It's good though.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes, it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And again, these guys that are, they're doing it on their own, and that's great. That's all well and good. But the problem is with the artisanship, I understand the part of it that's all creative. I get it.
Yeah.
But you need somebody to keep you pinned to the ground, in the sense that don't let you get too full of yourself, and don't let you get away with anything, because with the right guys that are around you, that thought process will always, like when I would release blades on Facebook to be sold, I would always grab a hold of that blade for the prior week that I knew I was going to release it, and I would critique the crap out of it.
And your
like
critique.
Yeah, and it could, because I knew that when I released it,
yeah,
they're going to look at it. They're going to look at it. They're going to look at it. And if they see something that doesn't look right,
yeah,
these guys were not afraid to just call me up and be like, bro, your plunge lines look like complete crap. You need to take that back to the bench, bro. Take that off. Don't you dare try and sell that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I think that they keep you honest.
Yeah.
They keep you honest. And I've been blessed, because a lot of the guys, John Graham, Ryan, John, I learned how to heat treat from John Hutchison. He's getting older now. He's up there in years. His health is really bad. But I learned everything I know. I learned how to open flame heat treat from him. And these guys, I look back at them now, and I wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here without them.
Across the board, I think, in I guess maybe not even niche markets, but you're some of the people you surround yourself with, you're some of the mentorship. And I mean, yeah, you want to go out alone, right? To say like, yeah, I did it. I really think that the true artists and the creators and all that, they have a team. Like, they didn't get there on their own, right? It's okay to ask for help. And I don't know, I think that's where I'm at too, is I would not be here without all of the help and generous people,
And when you have an opportunity to tell the world about them, do it. So anybody who's listening to this podcast, TCT Knives, Wilmot Grinders, Graham Knives, RMJ Tactical, old John Hutchison, he doesn't make much anymore. He's kind of on his way out. Elmer Rausch, any of those guys, man, I wouldn't be here without them. Would not be here without them.
Love it. Actually, Rob, that's a perfect segment. So this is a 2-part episode for those listening. So tune in on Thursday for part 2 of this. And we'll keep going on this subject.
Thanks for listening to the Reticle Up podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow along on social media at Reticle Up or 3 Gun Kenzie.